These are conferences based on climates in College Football 26 Dynasty. So I've been working on this for a while. I knew it was a great thumbnail, I knew it was a great name for a video, but I couldn't really nail it all down because so much of the good college football teams, really just so many schools, are in kind of a similar climate in the kind of middle eastern part into the southern part of the US. It's all kind of similar climates over there. So I enlisted the help of ChatGPT, which helped a good bit, but I did have to make some moves around. So this is the conference realignment based on climate. So I'm going to try to line up the climates here for you as I go through this. So the first one that we have here in the American is the Atlantic Subtropical Conference. This includes the Carolinas, Georgia, and Virginia. So we've got App State, Coastal Carolina, Charlotte, Clemson, Duke, East Carolina, Georgia, Georgia State, Georgia Tech, JMU, Kennesaw State, Liberty, NC State, North Carolina, ODU, South Carolina, Virginia, Virginia Tech, and Wake Forest. Then we have the ACC, which is our Northeast and Mid-Atlantic Cold Climate Conference. This is Akron, Army, Boston College, Buffalo, Delaware, Kent State, Maryland, Memphis, Navy, Penn State, Pittsburgh, Rutgers, Syracuse, Temple, UConn, and UMass. Really, Ohio and Texas were the two that were split up. Texas, because it's such a big state, got split up a little bit. And then Ohio, because there's so many goddamn FBS schools in Ohio, we took the two furthest northeast schools, Akron and Kent State, who are really, right next to Pitt and right next to Lake Erie, which, connects to Buffalo, and we put them into this Northeast Conference. So it should work out pretty well there. The Big Ten. This is our traditional kind of it's called Upper Midwest and Great Lakes Conference. I had to move around this one a lot because there are so many schools that come into this, and ChatGPT did not include a lot of the MAC schools in for whatever reason, even though it said it gave me 136. So we had to make some moves around. But this is Ball State, Bowling Green, Central Michigan, Eastern Michigan, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Iowa State, Michigan, Michigan State, Minnesota, Northern Illinois, Nebraska, Northwestern, Notre Dame, Purdue, Toledo, Western Michigan, and Wisconsin. To be fair, ChatGPT, I call it ChatGPT because it's a little pee-pee, did not include Notre Dame at all. So what does that say about their status in conferences? The Big 12, this is our desert conference. This is probably one of the easier ones to put together. The other reason why this is hard is because there's a lot of different climates in the West and not a lot of FBS schools, not as many climates in the East and a lot more schools. So it's really hard to kind of balance it out where we get the number of conferences that we have to have for a conference, for a College Football 26 conference lineup. So this is our Desert Conference: Arizona, Arizona State, Nevada, New Mexico, New Mexico State, North Texas, Texas Tech, UNLV, and UTEP. As I'm looking at this, I don't know that North Texas should be in the desert climate, right? North Texas is right around the same place as the rest of them. So we're going to take North Texas out. Texas Tech, UNLV, UTEP, they all make, or UTEP makes sense, but not North Texas. North Texas goes to Conference USA, which is our, what do they call it? Great Plains and Interior Transition Conference. We had to make some moves around this one, but this is Arkansas, Arkansas State, Baylor, Kansas, Kansas State, North Texas, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, SMU, TCU, Texas, Texas State, Tulsa, and UTSA. Basically all of the central Texas schools, and then, of course, some of our traditional Big 12 schools in there as well. No independents in this one. Maybe you could put Hawaii as an independent, but we need them out west because, again, we have not that many schools and a lot of different climates out west. The MAC. This is one that we had to kind of put together on our own because these kind of got forgotten. So it's kind of that interior transition, I guess, portion of it. This is more based around the Appalachian. We're going to call it the Foothills Conference. So Cincinnati, Kentucky, Louisville, Marshall, Miami of Ohio, Middle Tennessee, Missouri, Missouri State, Ohio, Ohio State, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Western Kentucky, and West Virginia. The Mountain West is, a mountain conference. So Air Force, BYU, Boise State, Colorado, Colorado State, Fresno State, Utah, Utah State, and Wyoming. The Pac-12 is kind of the southern, or we combined the Pac-12 into two. They tried to separate. This is another thing that makes it difficult because Oregon, Oregon State, Washington don't really have similar climates. Even Washington doesn't have a similar climate to Washington State. Really, Washington, Oregon, and Oregon State are the three that have a similar climate. Washington State and Boise State have a similar climate, and then even the California schools are broken up into multiple different climates if you really want to get into it. And Hawaii has a different climate, but they all really end up in the Pac-12 because I guess it kind of rains. Northern California probably is more similar to Oregon and Oregon State. Washington is, it's just so different on the West Coast. So we end up just kind of with a traditional Pac-12 kind of. Cal, Hawaii, Oregon, Oregon State, San Diego State, San Jose State, Stanford, UCLA, USC, Washington, and Washington State. The SEC, this is, what do they call this one? This one is our Gulf Coast and Deep South Humid Conference. So it's Alabama, Auburn, Houston, Jacksonville State, LSU, Louisiana Tech, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Rice, Sam Houston, South Alabama, Southern Miss, Texas A&M, Troy, Tulane, UAB, UL Monroe. So it's essentially from Alabama over to East Texas is really kind of how this one shook out, which I think is kind of an interesting conference. And then finally, our Sun Belt Conference. This is Florida, essentially, and Georgia Southern. So FIU, Florida Atlantic, Florida State, Georgia Southern, Miami, UCF, and USF. It was technically called Florida and Tropical Southeast Conference. So Georgia Southern got put in there to do the 8th team. There's probably some other teams you could move around. Maybe like Troy could have got moved into this, or maybe South Carolina or something. Or Coastal Carolina even, but this is the setup that we have. We're rolling with Arizona State in this one because in the last video, they were one of the most interesting teams. So we're going to do our regular 3 years, best team, best conference, all the things that we usually do. Make sure that you like and subscribe. We're trying to get to 500 subscribers before the end of the month. We're almost at 400. If we could get to 400 by the end of this week, I really think that we can get to that 500. Let your friends know so we can get to this 500, but let's go ahead and sim to the first CFP. Not an amazing start so far. We're 4-3 with Arizona State, but we'll see if they can get it going towards the end here. Okay, so we have a couple kind of common teams in the top 5 here. Illinois is one of those teams that is interesting to see up so high. The thing about the Big Ten is that we moved out of Ohio State and moved in Notre Dame kind of as the kind of straight up swap and put in a bunch of MAC teams in there. So we could see these teams that maybe we don't see get up so high do a little bit better. They lost to Notre Dame, but for the most part, they have stacked up on MAC wins and kind of lower. Well, not really. They just got the Western Michigan win and Bowling Green. Yeah, this team does not look like they're going to keep this going towards the end, but we'll see. Illinois at number 7 is interesting early on in the video. Ole Miss is also up there, 8-0. Iowa State is another one of those Big Ten teams that might be feasting on some lower level wins. Notre Dame seems to be having a pretty tough schedule so far, and they're getting big wins. Yeah. Kind of feasting on the lower levels, but Iowa State actually is pretty well set up to be there at the end. We'll see if we can get a win over them here in a couple weeks. Baylor's also up there, A&M. No traditional G5 teams, which is not that surprising, to be completely honest. When we do these ones where we spread the teams out from the power conferences, tends to be that the power conference teams do better. We don't really see any G5 teams coming up. Let's take a look just to see anything surprising. Texas Tech running the desert. Yeah, the Big Ten, I think, is going to be one of the better conferences. They generally are anyway, and we didn't change too much. Kept a lot of the big teams in there. Conference USA, this is our Texas and Plains Conference. Yeah, pretty good. Texas and Baylor up there, SMU up there as well. We can see Arkansas maybe making a run. They're 6-1 so far. They're probably going to have some tougher games at the end. So they just lost to Oklahoma, probably knocked them out of the top 25. Oh, no, they weren't in the top 25 then. But they have a game against SMU, Missouri. Maybe that can build up their profile. This game against Mississippi State might be for a top 25 spot. So there is still some room to grow for them. Ohio State obviously running the MAC. I think this conference could have some surprising teams come out of it because it's pretty top-heavy, so we'll see. The Mountain West, BYU and Utah running it so far, but Boise State only has one non-conference loss. That was to us, Arizona State. They've got a tough schedule at the end here. If Boise State can put some wins together, we could see them towards the top. That could be a team that shoots up. Pac-12, probably going to be Oregon, USC. The SEC is pretty common. The Sun Belt, interesting. And then, yeah, the ACC has a couple. Pitt could be a very good team there as well. So let's sim to the conference championship games and see what's going on. So we go 7-5 in the first year. We'll see if we can pick it up. There's not too many teams in the desert, so we should be able to try to pick it up here. But we do have some interesting things going on. So we get the All Pennsylvania Championship in the ACC. Pitt is 11-1, 8-0 in the conference, and they're unranked. That seems crazy. Northeast Conference is pretty weak, though. There's a lot of not good teams up there, so that might make sense. Georgia, always up top. They've got South Carolina in the American Championship game. Arizona, Texas Tech, Big 12 Championship game. We have a lot of concentrated power here, it seems like. 1-2 in the Big 10 in the Big 10 Championship game. That is pretty impressive there. Iowa State, number 1 in the country. Baylor, number 3 in the country. What year is it? Ohio State, 15. They lost a couple games towards the end. They were number 1 when we tuned in. Utah and BYU, the Holy War in the Mountain West Championship game. I don't know if the Mountain West ever had a championship game when they were in it together because they didn't get to 12 teams. So this is probably the first time this would have ever happened. Oregon, USC, like we predicted. Ole Miss, A&M in the SEC Championship game. This is cool. Both undefeated. Both probably in the playoffs, win or lose. 5 Miami. So we're missing quite a few teams here at the top, it seems like. We're going to have the MAC's going to miss out. The Mountain West is going to miss out. Yeah, because we got 1, 2 for sure. Probably 3, 4, 5. That's probably what it's going to happen. Georgia might not even get an automatic qualifier. Penn State might have to win to get in. Not even for automatic qualifier, just to get the rankings up. The Mountain West is going to miss out. The MAC's going to miss out. Big 12 is going to miss out. Even the Pac-12, well, Pac-12 won't miss out because Oregon will probably stay in the top 12. But there are a lot of highly rated teams here that will not get an automatic qualifier and the conference will miss out. Let's see what's in the top 25. I'm talking a lot in this video, so let's speed things up here. Let's see what's in the top 25. Okay, so Michigan is in out of the Big 10 and not in a Big 10 championship game. Indiana is an interesting one because we could see some teams jump them. Probably not. Texas also is right on the edge there. Clemson is also on the edge here. These 3 teams, it'll be interesting. Penn State could be jumping. USC could be jumping. All of these teams have a game to play. These 5 teams here, Penn State, USC, Ohio State, Utah, BYU, all have a game to play. These 3 do. These Indiana, Texas, Clemson do not. So we'll see if they jump them based on conference championship game results. They're probably not going to get the automatic qualifier, but still, just being in the conference championship game could jump them. Trinidad Chambliss gets the Heisman. It's very rare that I see Trinidad Chambliss get the win. Almost 4,000 yards passing, 34 tutties, gets him the Heisman in this. I think Ole Miss is going to be a playoff team. Pittsburgh did not win, or maybe they did. Maybe they did win because they were unranked going into the big ACC championship game. We are going to play them in the Pop-Tarts Bowl. So it'd be interesting to see if they did actually win the conference championship game the way that things were laid out. Let's look at this bracket here. Oh, yeah, this is chaos here at the top. Okay, so Iowa State does go in as the number 1 overall seed. Michigan goes in at number 2. Notre Dame goes in at number 4. That's 3 of the top 4 seeds out of the Big 10. The other one comes out of the SEC. Texas A&M is our lone undefeated team in the playoff. They beat Ole Miss in the first round. Ole Miss will take on Oregon, who lost to USC in the Pac-12 championship game. Winner of that takes on Michigan. Baylor, who lost the Conference USA championship game, they'll take on USC. Winner takes on A&M. Clemson and Indiana will face off. Both teams were not in a conference championship game. The winner will take on Iowa State. So one of those teams got jumped. I can't remember exactly who it was. Then we have Miami and Georgia, the Carson Beck Bowl, facing off in the first round. Miami actually is undefeated as well. They won the Florida Conference. Georgia won the Georgia, Carolinas, and Virginia Conference. I can't remember exactly what that one was. But the winner of that will take on Notre Dame. So we have 4 teams out of our Big Ten Conference, including Indiana. We have out of our Carolinas, Georgia Conference, we have 2 teams, which I think that one was, I can't remember. Clemson and Georgia are out of that conference. USC and Oregon out of the Pac-12. Baylor out of our Conference USA. A&M and Ole Miss out of the SEC. I think Georgia and Clemson are out of the Sun Belt. Or maybe Miami's in the Sun Belt. Georgia and Clemson are, we'll see. Let's go see. Georgia and Clemson are what? Georgia and Clemson are out of the American Conference. Okay, so those are the conferences that we get in. Georgia gets in by the automatic qualifier. Somebody got jumped here at the end. It was Texas, right? No, Texas got in. It was Texas. It was Texas by virtue of USC winning and Georgia winning. They did get the automatic qualifiers all the way down there from somebody losing up here. I think Baylor losing in the Conference USA Championship game and actually ended up hurting Texas because then their conference didn't get an automatic qualifier, and an automatic qualifier from below jumped up. That's how that ended up working out, and Texas fell out with the 3 losses. And we win the Pop-Tarts Bowl over Pitt. 8-5 in the first season, not terrible for Arizona State. I think that we can come back and end up winning the Desert Conference at some point during this sim. All right, what happened here? Oregon gets past Ole Miss 50-49, a 1-point victory. They will take on Michigan in the Orange Bowl in the second round. We get an old school Big 12 matchup. Baylor gets past USC by 3 with the home game. They will take on A&M in the Sugar Bowl. That is SEC versus Conference USA in our sim here. We don't get an all Big Ten matchup in the second round. Indiana gets smacked by Clemson 35-14. It's Iowa State, number 1 team in the country, taking on Clemson in the Rose Bowl. Interesting to see if Iowa State can make a run here. Miami's undefeated season ends at home. Georgia gets the win, 21-20. They will take on Notre Dame in the Cotton Bowl. So we still have those 3 Big Ten teams that were in the second round already with the bye. The 1 Pac-12 team with Oregon getting the win on the road over Ole Miss. We have our 1 Conference USA team with Baylor getting through. We have our 2 American teams with Georgia and Clemson getting through to the second round. All upsets. We had 2 upsets, Oregon and Georgia, and then Baylor and Clemson held their own and got the win at home. Iowa State does not keep the number 1 spot. They lose 41-22 in the Rose Bowl to Clemson. Clemson will take on Notre Dame. We don't get the American matchup. Notre Dame is the 1 Big Ten team that makes it through. They win by 10, 48-38. Notre Dame, Clemson in the Peach Bowl for a chance at the national championship game. A&M keeps their undefeated season alive. They win the old school Big 12 matchup, 35-31 over Baylor in the Sugar Bowl. A&M will face Oregon, who gets their second straight upset. They take down Michigan 31-10. It's A&M, Oregon in the Fiesta Bowl, probably a pretty good midway point for those 2 teams to play, and Notre Dame, Clemson in the Peach Bowl. So the Pac-12, the SEC, the American, and the Big Ten all represented in the semifinal. And we've got the Ducks and the Irish both dominating the semifinal, making their way to Miami. Notre Dame gets the win 55-28 in the Peach Bowl over the Tigers, and the Ducks get the win 41-24 over A&M, ending their perfect season, going from Arizona to Miami. 14-2 Oregon, 12-3 Notre Dame, Pac-12 versus Big Ten in the national championship game for the first year of our sim. Notre Dame gets the win. The 2025 national champion Notre Dame. Big Ten had the best season, I would say, getting 3 teams in the bye, and they close it out with the national championship game to set it in stone. Big Ten in the lead for best conference, and Notre Dame in the lead for best team. Let's go to next year. All right, we're 7-1, but we're unranked. I think that's going to be a theme here, that we're going to see some of these bigger teams in some of the conferences that don't necessarily get their due for their record. All right, Texas, who just missed out on the CFP last year, is 8-0. We got a couple undefeated teams here at the top. These 2 made it. This was our defending national champion. This is our defending runner-up. Michigan made it last year. Ohio State did not make it. They were out, even though they won their conference championship game, I believe. So they're 8-1. We'll see if they can rally in. Michigan State up towards the top. That's an interesting team up there. Iowa State, we already saw at number 1 last year. Let's see if they can get a run going this year. Interesting team to be one of the better teams. Maybe they're this video's Arizona State. Nebraska is 9-0. That's not that surprising. Baylor's back up there. Tennessee's back up there. UCLA popped up. Penn State's already 10-0, but they are 14th in the country. Get a big win over the FCS teams. Yeah, look at the schedule. It's just not super strong up there. Everybody always wants the Northeast Conference, but this is what you get with the Northeast Conference. Who are they going to play? They've played basically they have 1 more conference game. They have a non-conference against Georgia State. Now, Penn State could have some better non-conference games. They're scheduling Liberty, Georgia State, FCS. But still, this is not, not ideal if you want to have a top-level conference. So that's what you end up getting there, with Penn State being 10-0, probably not going to make the playoffs. Pitt is also 9-0, so maybe they get in the playoffs as a conference based on the winner of the conference championship game. Maybe not even by the automatic qualifier, just by that being a tough game for them in their schedule, because they got 2 undefeated teams outside of the top 12 almost at the end of the season here. Boise State is one of the traditional G5 teams that we're seeing moving up. The Mountain West is going to be interesting to see if they can get some teams up here, because they are a smaller conference, but they should be able to maybe schedule some things in the non-conference to get up towards the top. Let's go to the conference championship games. I don't think we really have anything else to look at this point. After a 7-1 start, we go 1-3 in the Final Four, end up 8-4. Not a great end to the season, but there's still one more year, folks. Okay, Texas SMU, Conference USA will get at least 2 in the playoff this year after only getting 1 with the debacle at the end of the season last year. Pac-12 might get 2. Oregon lost to USC in the conference championship game last year, which got USC into the playoff. We'll see if the same thing happens here. I think if UCLA loses, they are out. Not going to see the Mountain West. Not going to see the Big 12. That's the same thing that we had last year, unfortunately. Ohio State will get in this year, win or loss in the MAC championship game. But that cannot be said for Florida or Florida State, even though Florida is 11-1. We saw Miami in from the Sun Belt last year, but not this year. Georgia might be back in from the American this year, but Duke might have something to say about it. The SEC might miss out. The ACC might miss out. It looks like Pitt lost, even though they were towards the top. And the Big Ten, I believe, is dominating it yet again. Okay, so automatic qualifiers are probably 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I think that the Pac-12 gets an automatic qualifier either way. The Big Ten gets an automatic qualifier either way. And Conference USA gets an automatic qualifier either way. MAC could lose one if Missouri gets the win. And if Duke gets the win, then you could see... If Missouri gets the win, you could see the MAC lose an automatic qualifier, but they'll still get a team in. The SEC would probably take the next one there. Yeah. So basically all it is Missouri can change things if A&M, or can change things for the SEC. Otherwise, everything is set. It's just between the MAC and the SEC. What's the top 12 look like? The top 12 is, what are we missing here? We didn't see Iowa State in there. They're back in, number 5 in the country. Very good. Michigan State did end up making it in. Tennessee will end up making it in. The MAC will get 2 teams regardless. They won't get 3, but Missouri could give the SEC a spot in there. I don't think that we have any SEC teams. Notre Dame is probably right on the edge there. USC is right on the edge as well. Don't know exactly what they're looking for. They're probably hoping for just the top teams to win. I don't think it matters so much in the Pac-12, but the top teams to win. TCU could pounce if UCLA loses out. Penn State also could be looking to get in there with a big win over Syracuse. Oh, I guess Penn State would probably take the spot instead of the SEC. So we would need Syracuse and Missouri to win for the SEC to get a spot in there. But Penn State, TCU are the 2 teams on the outside looking in to get a spot. Devin Dampier transfers to Texas, gets the Heisman Trophy winner. Not really a season to write home about, but they don't really show rushing yards or anything like that for the quarterback. So, again, we're going to be playing the number 25 team in our bowl game, taking on South Carolina in the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl. I'll see if Arizona State can get the win there. I'm really hoping they can pull it together in this final season, but we'll see. What does our bracket end up looking like here? So USC does get the last spot. I think it's essentially chalk above. UCLA did drop out, so didn't end up getting 3 teams from the Pac-12, but we do have some interesting things going on here. So we have 4 different teams with the bye in the first round. Conference USA with Texas going 13-0. They're the number 1 team in the country. Ohio State got the other one from the MAC. They went 12-1, conference champion. Oregon, Pac-12, 13-0, conference champion. Iowa State, 11-1, not the conference champion in the Big Ten, but they get a bye just like they did last year. This time, instead of the 1, they are the 4. They will face the winner of USC and Nebraska. Nebraska's hosting there. Winner goes to the Cotton Bowl to take on Iowa State. Duke and Tennessee, 2 new teams in this year. Duke, Tennessee, Nebraska, all 3 new teams. The winner will take on another new team, Texas, in the Peach Bowl. Interesting that Texas, number 1 seed, does not get the Cotton Bowl, but that is what it is. Georgia and Notre Dame in a rematch of last year's quarterfinal, in which Notre Dame won, Notre Dame being the defending national champion. Winner takes on Oregon in the Orange Bowl. Now, a thing of note here, Oregon and Notre Dame was last year's national championship game. Of course, Notre Dame getting that win. We'll see if we get that rematch in the second round. Michigan State and SMU, 2 other new teams from the Big Ten and the Conference USA, respectively, hosted by Michigan State in East Lansing. Winner takes on Ohio State in the Fiesta Bowl. So, conferences, Big Ten, we have Iowa State, Nebraska, Michigan State, and Notre Dame. That's 4. We have 2 from the Pac-12 with Oregon, USC. We have 2 from the MAC, Ohio State and Tennessee. We have 2 from the American, Georgia and Duke. And 2 from Conference USA, Texas and SMU. No traditional G5 teams. I don't know if you consider Michigan State essentially a G5 power team nowadays, but they are in the Big Ten, of course, and they are a playoff team. I'll give it to them. They have made the playoffs in the 4-team era. So, and we have, as far as new teams, we have Nebraska, Tennessee, Duke, Michigan State, and Texas, 5 new teams that didn't make it last year. That means 7 repeat teams in the playoff. Levitt got player of the week, but we lost. I can't imagine that Levitt comes back next year, either transfers out or goes to the NFL. So we'll see if we can get a win in the final season. All right, USC, they lost by 3 in the first round last year. They get the win by 3 this year. They will take on Iowa State, who's looking for their first playoff win as well in the Cotton Bowl. Tennessee gets the win over Duke. It's Texas and Tennessee in the Peach Bowl. That is the Conference USA versus MAC matchup. Georgia gets their get back from last year. They win by 14. They will take on Oregon in the Dan Lanning Bowl. In the Orange Bowl, Oregon is looking to keep their undefeated season alive. SMU puts 51 on Michigan State, 51-43. SMU is the winner there. All the road teams get the win in the first round. All upsets in the first round. We've got Ohio State versus SMU in the Fiesta Bowl. So 2 Conference USA teams, Texas and SMU. 2 Pac-12 teams, Oregon and USC. 2 MAC teams, Ohio State and Tennessee. 1 American team, Georgia, and 1 Big Ten team, Iowa State. Big Ten is in the lead for the best team in the video, or best conference in the video. Best team in the video just took a loss in the first round by 14. That would be Notre Dame. Get a couple more upsets in the second round. USC wins 51-0 over Iowa State. Impressive start to the video for Iowa State, but 2 losses in the playoffs so far. We'll see if they can get something going at some point in this video. USC will take on Texas. Classic Rose Bowl. 2005 Rose Bowl. 2006 Rose Bowl. No. 2005 Rose Bowl? Texas, USC? I can't remember if it was 05 or 06 that was the Reggie Bush, Vince Young Rose Bowl. But it was in the Rose Bowl that season. And, of course, Texas got the win. They're looking to keep that alive. It's a 1 versus 12. Texas is undefeated. Oregon was the other undefeated team. They lose by 8 to Georgia. Georgia will take on Ohio State, who beat SMU by 3. This is a college football playoff 2021 semifinal. That was Justin Fields versus Stetson Bennett. So we get a couple classic game rematches. Both of these were classics in their respective eras. BCS Classic between USC and Texas, probably the best BCS national championship game. One of the best playoff semifinals from the 4-team era. The Justin Fields, Stetson Bennett, Ohio State, Georgia game, which Georgia, I think, was en route to their, I think it was 2021, because it was en route to their first national championship of the back-to-back. So we have Pac-12, Conference USA, American, and MAC. The Big Ten does not make it through after having multiple teams make it through or get first-round byes last year. So we'll have probably a new conference take the lead in best conference. Georgia and Texas make it through. Texas gets the win by 14, keeping their undefeated season alive. Georgia wins by 20. They go from number 11 all the way to the national championship game. It's Texas, Georgia in Vegas for the national championship game. Conference USA versus the American. Neither of these conferences would take the lead in best conference because the Big Ten had a really good season last year and had a couple teams make it in this year. And neither of these teams would take the lead in best team because Well, I guess Georgia would probably tie it up. Georgia would tie it up. Texas would be behind Notre Dame because Notre Dame's made it twice to the playoff. Georgia gets the win, 31-25. We have a little bit of drama brewing between Notre Dame and Georgia. They've faced off in the playoff 2 years in a row, both in the first round this year, in the second round last year. Georgia got the win this year. Obviously, Notre Dame got the win last year. Both teams went on to win the national championship game. Could we see them in the national championship game in the third season? That would be the ultimate end to this. But for now, they are tied up in the best team race. I would see that the Big Ten has a slight edge because of how well they did in the first season. But really, it's all to play for. The American has a championship. The Big Ten has a championship. We could see some other teams pop up here. We had some other good conferences. Right now, it's Georgia and Notre Dame neck and neck for best team in the video. I had high hopes, but I don't think it's happening for Arizona State. They are 5-3. Texas, last year's runner-up, is looking to get back there. They're 9-0, one in the country right now. Oregon, our first year's runner-up, is also in the top 4. They've had a good run so far. Georgia, 9-0. Our last year's defending national champion is up there. Can Notre Dame get back in here? They're 7-2 right now. Right on the outside looking in. They had a loss to USC and a loss to Michigan back-to-back. Those are 2 tough games. They have Indiana next week, which is big because not only is it big in the Big Ten race, but they also are 12-13, so the winner of that game could very well be in the playoff with a loser being on the outside looking in before the Big Ten championship game. We need Georgia, Notre Dame in the national championship. That's the perfect one. Iowa State is not going away. They're still in the playoff hunt. Missouri also has worked their way up. Michigan State staying up there. Iowa State has gotten killed the first 2 years, but they've made it to the playoff 2 years in a row. They have a pretty easy schedule the rest of the way. So hopefully they can get back in there. Maybe Iowa State can make a move at the end of the season. Florida is 8-0 on the outside looking in. I think they had a good season last year too, but not looking great for them. Again, no G5 teams in the top 25. We do have an 8-0 Auburn at number 24, which shows you the absurdity of these conference realignments when you get to this point. Let's sim to the conference championship games. All right, so Georgia looks like they are going to get in. We don't see Notre Dame up here. I wouldn't expect them to get in the Big Ten championship game. Interesting to see Michigan State and Iowa State in the Big Ten championship game. Looks like both teams are going to get in. Iowa State for the third time in the video. Michigan State looking to go back-to-back in the final 2 years. Ohio State and Missouri are both going to make it in for the MAC. That's pretty good. They've been a pretty good conference so far. We're still not seeing anything from the Mountain West. Nothing from the Big 12. I think that the SEC is going to struggle. I don't think the SEC has gotten anybody in the entire video. No, we had A&M in the first year. And Ole Miss. A&M and Ole Miss were in the first year. Looks like they're going to miss out for the third straight video. Georgia is doing their part. Let's go see if we can find Notre Dame here. The rest of that is not that interesting to me. I really want to see if Notre Dame's in the top 12. They're not going to do it. They had another loss. They lost that game to Indiana, and that knocked them out. Indiana looks like they're going to make the playoff, and Notre Dame got knocked out, losing by 4 there. So a couple tough losses. This is a big loss, but the Michigan loss, two conference losses really did them in. Knocked him out of the playoff. We're not going to get him in there. So Notre Dame's out of best team in the video race. Let's see what the bracket looks like. Colton Joseph. I know someone's going to tell me where this dude's from. How am I not watching Liberty football right now? He transferred in from Liberty or something. But he ends up with the best season we've seen from Heisman so far. Almost 4,500 yards, 52 touchdowns as Clemson's quarterback. I think Clemson should have made the bracket this year. Pitt and Arizona State, a rematch of the first year Pop-Tarts Bowl. They are matching up yet again. Arizona State did not do what we thought they would do in the Desert Conference. Desert Conference in total did not do very well either. All right, so our first round teams, Ohio State gets a first round bye yet again. Texas gets a first round bye yet again. Oregon gets a first round bye yet again. All of these teams go 13-0 in the final season. Michigan State is the other one that gets a bye. They are 12-1, winning the Big 12. Baylor and Georgia in the first round. We had Georgia, Oregon last year. Georgia is, of course, our defending national champion. So we'll see if we get that rematch in the second round, depending on what happens in that Georgia-Baylor game. Clemson and Ohio State, that's the Heisman Trophy winner versus our most impressive team yet, Iowa State. 3 straight playoff seasons, can they win a playoff game? They are 0-2 so far. Winner takes on number 1 seed Ohio State in the Peach Bowl. Duke gets in for the first time out of the Americans. So we get a couple American teams in. They will take on Missouri out of the MAC, who's also in for the first time. Winner takes on Michigan State in the Rose Bowl. We are for sure going to get an interesting team in this spot here in one of the semifinal spots, either Duke, Missouri, or Michigan State. Also, potentially an interesting team at the bottom there. Texas, last year's runner-up, is awaiting the winner of Indiana and Kentucky, a basketball matchup. I know Indiana is a football school now, but that still is a classic basketball matchup. We could get a basketball Final Four matchup, Duke versus one of those two teams, classic basketball. Even Michigan State versus one of those two teams, classic basketball matchup. So this is the basketball bracket down here in the bottom, football bracket up at the top. Very interesting things that be going on here. I'm really looking for 6 through 11 are the teams that we're looking for outside of Clemson. Missouri, Indiana, Kentucky, Duke, Iowa State. Can any of those teams make a run? Maybe Michigan State. Can those teams make a run to make this video really interesting at the end? All right, a good first round. Iowa State gets their win, 52-24. They will take on Ohio State in the Peach Bowl. Georgia gets the win over Baylor, so we get a rematch of last year's quarterfinal game, Oregon versus Georgia, this time in the Sugar Bowl. Georgia is, of course, our defending national champion. Can they solidify best team in the video as Notre Dame has dropped out of that race? Georgia would get it unless one of the 3 appearance teams gets the win this year. Duke gets the win over Missouri, so we get a basketball matchup. Duke and Michigan State in the Rose Bowl. Kentucky gets the win over Indiana, so we get another... I guess Texas is a basketball school, but obviously football first, but they're a basketball school as well. So the basketball bracket lives up to its name. Texas and Kentucky in the Fiesta Bowl. So the teams that are alive for best team, I think, are just Georgia, Oregon, and Iowa State. Those are the 3 teams that have made it in 3 times. Of course, Georgia is in the lead. We would need Georgia to probably lose here for them to not get best team because they won the first year, and they've already won one this year. Iowa State hasn't won. Probably just Oregon is the only team that could take them out with a win here. Even then, I think it would be a 3-way tie. So Georgia is in the lead and in the driver's seat for best team in the video. Probably best conference in the video is more up for grabs. We're denied a true basketball matchup in the bottom there with Texas getting the win 35-13 over Kentucky. It'll be Michigan State and Texas in the Cotton Bowl. Home field advantage for Texas, but Michigan State getting a win there is interesting. This is the furthest I've seen Michigan State go. Ohio State and Georgia ruin the fun. We don't get Iowa State into the semifinal, even though they've had a very good video. Hats off to Iowa State. They made the video interesting. Georgia gets a win over Oregon by 7, so Georgia then locks up best team in the video. The best conference in the video is up for grabs here. So the American has a championship with Georgia. They've had a couple different appearances. They are very much in play for that. The MAC, probably not so much. I think it comes down to the American and the Big Ten. I would say if Georgia doesn't win, the Big Ten gets it because they have had so many teams that have done things in the playoff, gotten to the playoff, and have had a lot of highly ranked teams. Conference USA has had a little bit to show here and there with Texas, but I don't think that they're in it. So it's probably American that can take away from the Big Ten. Otherwise, it's the Big Ten, and Georgia has had the best team in the video already. Why don't we just play for it in the national championship game? Michigan State makes it to the national championship game, beats Texas 24-13. They'll take on Georgia, who beat Ohio State 49-28. Michigan State could very well take the best conference for the Big Ten, and maybe the most interesting team in the video. Michigan State winning a national championship game is not something that I have seen. We'll see. It's in New Orleans, 3 versus 5, Michigan State, Georgia, all the marbles right here. We can't have anything nice. We just can't have anything nice. Georgia gets the win, 45-24, dashing the hopes of Michigan State. The American takes the best conference in the video. Georgia takes the best team in the video. We had a couple really interesting teams, though. Iowa State, Michigan State, Kentucky making the playoffs even. That was a very fun video. I liked that alignment. We will be doing another video tomorrow. Trying to do one probably Saturday and Sunday, but for sure one tomorrow. I'm going to try to do a playoff sim of the 2023 12-team playoff that I did on my main channel a couple days ago. I'm going to post that on my main channel as well, but I will also post it here. Make sure you subscribe and let people know we're trying to get to 500 subscribers before the end of the month, so help us get there. Other than that, we will see you tomorrow.